Next up, we would like to invite Christine Grab to come to the podium.
My name is Christine Grab. I am an individual taxpayer, and I have 8 policy change requests. 1, end the policy of withholding estimated tax payments made via credit elects until the taxpayer files a return. This policy violates R&TC 19363, which states that credit elects must be applied effective April 15th year, regardless of filing date. If a taxpayer files late, the FTB then demands payments of monies that would not have been due had the credit elect been applied in compliance with the law, as well as late fees, penalties, and interest. This is the federal crime of racketeering per the RICO Act. 2, end the policy of withholding estimated tax payments made by married couples until the married couple files a return. The tax codes and counsel advice that the FTB uses to justify this policy say the exact opposite of what the FTB claims they say. Therefore, this withholding practice is illegal. If taxpayers file late, the FTB then demands payments of monies that would not have been due had the payments been applied in compliance with the law, as well as late fees, penalties, and interest. This is the federal crime of racketeering per the RICO Act. 3, end the policy of assessing licensees with tax liabilities when there is no proof of income earned. If no evidence exists that a licensee has earned income via said license, the FTB assesses the licensee with a tax liability based on the average income that those types of licensees earn. It is up to the licensee to prove that they didn't earn this money. The FTB has provided no legal basis to justify this policy. Therefore, it should be halted. 4, clear definitions of what defines an abatement request. My abatement requests for the tax years 2013 and 14 were denied before I applied. I asked Ms. Maples how this could possibly be legal. She responded that the FTB sent me a turndown notice because I informed GovOps that I was going to submit an abatement request, and that the FTB believes this turndown was reasonable thanks to their loose guidelines of what defines a request. The law says that in order for an abatement request to be approved, the taxpayer must provide credible and competent evidence. But I was turned down due to lack of evidence before I even had a chance to submit my evidence. This policy of loose guidelines is a tool to deny due process to taxpayers. It must be corrected. 5, having the Tax Appeals Assistance Program, TAP, overseen by the tax agencies that they are fighting against is a conflict of interest. TAP provides free student attorneys to taxpayers who are appealing denials of abatement requests from the FTB and CDTFA. On January 1st, 2019, the FTB and CDTFA agencies will be overseeing their respective TAP programs. This gives these agencies the power to withhold free representation from the taxpayers who are trying to fight them in court. Without free student attorneys, it will be impossible for most taxpayers to recover unfair fees due to prohibitive attorney costs. I am requesting that you restructure the Office of Tax Appeals so they can oversee TAP, or another office to oversee TAP. 6, disclosure of annual Taxpayer Bill of Rights meetings to the general public. This annual Taxpayer Bill of Rights meeting that we are at right now is a California state right. However, the FTB goes to great lengths to hide this right from the general public. FTB representatives are trained to tell taxpayers who complain that there is nothing the FTB can do about changing policies or laws. When the FTB sends out written correspondence, they will frequently include Form 4058 called California Taxpayer Bill of Rights, which omits information about these meetings. If the taxpayer carefully reads 4058, they will discover that there is another brochure, Form 4058C, also called Taxpayer Bill of Rights, which has more information. The taxpayer then has to locate Form 4058C to find out these meetings exist. Form 4058C contains no directions on how to submit a request. As far as I could find, there are no instructions anywhere on the FTB's website on how to submit a request. I am asking that the board implement the following policy changes. A, add information about how to submit a request to the annual Taxpayers Bill of Rights meeting to Form 4058C. B, whenever brochure 4058 is sent, 4058C should also be sent with it. C, brochure 4058 should be renamed California Taxpayers Bill of
Time
Rights.
expired.
Your time has expired. You may have an additional 3 minutes if you like to wrap up.
Oh, awesome, thank you. C, brochure 4058 should be renamed California Taxpayer Bill of Rights, Part 1 of 2, and 4058C should be renamed California Taxpayer Bill of Rights, Parts 2 of 2. D, FTB reps should be trained to tell taxpayers who complain about a policy or law that they can submit a change request to the annual Taxpayers Bill of Rights meeting. 7, acknowledgement of the abatement requests and disclosure of taxpayer rights in the abatement process. I believe there should be a written notice mailed to all taxpayers who file an abatement request which acknowledges that the request was received and explains their rights. A, that the FTB has 6 months to respond. B, if you are turned down, you have the right to file an appeal and can possibly access a free TAP attorney. C, if you do not receive a response within 6 months, you still have the right to appeal and can possibly access a free TAP attorney. 8, move the Taxpayers Advocate to work under GovOps, having the Taxpayer Advocate employed by the taxation agencies they are supposed to be protecting taxpayers from is a conflict of interest. Protecting the revenue is the FTB's #1 priority. While the Taxpayer Advocate does have the power to make changes to favor taxpayers, doing so would reduce the revenues that her employer generates. It's not fair to her to be in a position of divided loyalties. I understand that this request requires a change in legislature. I am requesting that Ms. Maples and the FTB Board of Directors work together with my state representatives to put together a bill to propose in the next legislative session that will include the following structural changes. A, instead of 1 advocate per taxation agency, there should be 1 advocate per district that works with all the agencies. B, the advocate should work under GovOps and have a support staff. C, GovOps needs to be given real oversight power. D, the advocates must have authority and power to make changes to unfair policies. The assorted advocates would have to regularly meet to discuss potential policy changes and vote on whether to make said changes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. FTB, do you have any comments?
Yes, just quickly, I just want to assure the board that my staff and I have reviewed the policies and the procedures that Ms. Grab has mentioned, and we are in full compliance with the law. But we definitely do thank Ms. Grab for her comments, and the Taxpayer Advocate will take them into consideration in the normal process.
Thank you. Susan, do you have any comments?
I do. I wanted to address the disclosure of the annual Taxpayer Bill of Rights meeting. First, I'd like to thank Ms. Grab for her suggestion and assure her and this board that the Taxpayers Advocate Office and FTB do not try to limit, hide, or discourage the citizens of California from participating in the annual Taxpayer Bill of Rights process. The law provides for the annual hearing before the board where industry representatives and individual taxpayers are allowed to present their proposals on law changes. This is a public meeting held each December. Taxpayers are not required to submit anything in advance, and members of the public who wish to speak at the meeting need only to attend, sign up, and speak during their allotted time. As the result of Ms. Grab raising this issue last year, this year we placed a link to the meeting notice on our homepage during the 10-day period preceding the meeting, in addition to its normal posting on our News and Events tab. In addition, as we mentioned earlier in our Education and Outreach presentation, the Taxpayer Bill of Rights hearing and its importance is something that we cover in every presentation that we give. We appreciate Ms. Grab's suggestions for the Form 4058 and 4058C, and we will consider her recommendations during the FTB's annual review of its publications. I'd also like to address her request to end the policy of assessing tax liabilities with the occupational licensing program, and mention that Revenue and Taxation Code Section 19087 provides FTB with authority to propose an assessment from any available information which indicates that the taxpayer who fails to file a return has a filing requirement for a particular tax year. Furthermore, the Board of Equalization has held in its decisions that FTB has great latitude in estimating income when a return has not been filed by a taxpayer, including using third-party information to estimate income. As such, Revenue and Taxation Code 19087 allows FTB to use third-party information, such as occupational licenses, to estimate taxpayers' income. In addition, as I mentioned in my advocate's address of the annual report, the Filing Division is currently studying the overall performance of occupational licenses in an effort to improve the quality of context to potential non-filers. The estimated date for completion of this study is in 2019, and while we won't have much to share in February when the hearing responses go out, we should definitely have an update for your board with the next annual report. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Okay.